When Mr. Holness has demitted office, and that will happen at some point in history, that will be recorded. What will his legacy be? And I'm asking person the question, what is going to be Mr. Holness's legacy? So this is what I'm going to be doing. Today I'm looking at Mr. Andrew Holness and what is his likely legacy? What has he done so far to the people of Jamaica and by extension, the country? So before I start, I'm going to ask you to like, share and subscribe to this channel. We need your help for provide more information to persons outside of just this space. So share with a friend, share with family members, have them subscribe, have them listen to the thing. And if person want to bash me, you can do so in the comments. I'll accept any comment, any critique, any argument for or against any matter because I'm about trusted information and dialoguing to ensure that we understand what is. Now, Mr. Holness's administration comes with substantially a young face. And a part of the reason why Mr. Holness won the election was because persons saw him as hope. And when I say persons, I'm talking about particularly young persons who are less than 25 saw him as an hope. And many of them did not want to go through more years of rulership or administration of the People's National Party. So therefore, they chose Mr. Holness by default. What has Mr. Holness done since that time? If one looks at the public purpose, or let me rephrase that, if one is to look at health being free to all Jamaicans, that is not a legacy of Mr. Holness. That is something that was done by Michael Norman Manley. I'm sorry, Michael Manley. All right. So I do not want for 1 out of a second that somebody is going to say that when Mr. Holness introduced free health care, it was a part of his legacy. No, that is already well established in Jamaica, going back to Mr. Michael Manley. So that's not a legacy of Mr. Holness. And if we are to look at the building of roads and bridges, that cannot be a legacy of Mr. Holness because that has already been done and started by none other than Mr. Percival James Patterson. So what is it that Mr. Holness has done? Privatize substantially Jamaicans and have little or no regards for some fundamental rights and freedom of the masses of people in Jamaica. Now, there are many things that we can look at in terms of what Mr. Holness has done during his tenure. And if we take the situation with the Maroons and Mr. Holness, that is for another discussion. That's another discourse that you and I will have. And we'll definitely have that discussion on that matter. Now, so I'm asking the question, what has Mr. Holness really done in Jamaica? Have you thought about it? Mr. Holness has done little or nothing substantial to people of Jamaica. Apart from giving us some lovely photo shoots and running into some 4K and 10K races and show that he's an athlete and that's understandable of good of you and exhibiting that he is young. But what is Mr. Holness's contribution? And what is his legacy going to be when persons like myself and others are going to write the history or look at what it is Mr. Holness has contributed to Jamaica? I have looked extensively through the literature. I've looked extensively at all the magazines, all the tabloids, all the newspapers, and I'm actually giving you an extent in terms of what it is that I've done. And there are other things in terms of the contribution of Mr. Holness. And there's nothing I can actually put my finger on to say that this is unique to Mr. Andrew Holness. Mr. Holness, to me, has been a failure in terms of how people expected him to perform. And many young persons who voted for Mr. Holness did so under the guise and thinking that Mr. Holness would have transformed the general environment in Jamaica that they could actually survive and do so well. There's much evidence in terms of literature, in terms of research, that many Jamaicans are worse off than 10 or 15 years ago. So that is an indictment on Mr. Holness. So I'm asking the question again, what is Mr. Holness' legacy going to be? It is simply going to be failure. Apart from lovely photo ops and you can young. Mr. Holness has done little or nothing to develop the human capital, the educational capacity, the knowledge level, the competence of structures in Jamaica to protect Jamaicans. What has happened under Mr. Holness's administration is an influx of Chinese that have little or no regards for the people of Jamaica. Within that context, that is a blur to Mr. Holness's legacy and cannot be considered as anything positive or good or beneficial by extension to the people of Jamaica. Because normally what the Chinese sell are inferior goods. So one cannot use what the Chinese are doing to Jamaica as development for the people of Jamaica, but more so for the benefit of the Chinese. I have looked long and hard, even in terms of legislation, and there's hardly a legislation that I see on the books that would suggest that Mr. Holness cares for the masses of people in Jamaica. Or even recently, when Mr. Holness's administration thought of introducing a number of ridiculous things relating to vehicles, that is a clear indication to me of the failure of Mr. Holness's administration. And again, I ask, what is the legacy that is going to be for Mr. Holness? I just don't know. I'm confused. I have looked extensively and have sought to find information to substantiate what is his legacy going to be. And all I have seen so far is failure. If I were to grade Mr. Holness out of 10, I would have given him 2 out of 10. Mr. Holness has been a failure to the people of Jamaica, particularly young people. Those are my views. What are yours? Let's have a discussion on the matter. You might be a JLP and you're peeved by what it is that I have said. Let's have a discussion. You might be a PMP and agree with me. Forward why you agree with me. We're having discussion on my channel. I'm providing you trusted information. And as I said, apart from my trusted information, nothing can substantiate Mr. Holness is getting any grade beyond 2 out of 10, which is 1 out of 5 or 20%. Mr. Holness has been a failure, a downright failure. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel.